The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is DeMarcus Merritt. I am a part of the ACUHO-I Professionals of Color Network. We want to thank everyone for taking your time out of your workday to tune in for this very special space with the very special presenters that we have on this webinar for today. Our focus is professionals, the parenting professional of color. We want to look at exploring the challenges and celebrations of this intersectional identity. So we're going to have great folks that are on this call, in this webinar. We'll be able to really talk about and walk us through what their experience has been while holding these two identities. So again, I am DeMarcus Merritt. I will be serving as the moderator for this webinar. Currently, I am an assistant director for residence life here at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. I too identify with these two intersectional identities. I am a father of a 1-year-old, DeMarcus Jr., and I've been in the field for 10 years now. Previously to this role, I served as an area coordinator at the University of Florida. And now, for the folks that you really came to hear from. Well, before we go there, we're going to talk really quickly about the Professional of Colors Network mission. For those of you that may not be aware, the Professional Color Network is an awesome opportunity for engagement and high-level involvement with the association. Here is our mission. Charting our future within the association is rooted by our motivation, our passion, and drive to reach new heights in diversity, equity, and inclusive excellence. Our commitment to this work is to infuse diversity and inclusion into all aspects of ACUHO-I by supporting, encouraging, and challenging our housing professionals and constituents that we serve. Indeed, we are aiming for transformative leadership throughout the association, a value that can be held by all members of the association. Through collaborative efforts, we aim to transform our profession into a place to where our colleagues are seen, heard, and matter, and building an inclusive agenda to action. So definitely a very special space that is created and supported by ACUHO-I. Here's a look at our ACUHO-I Professionals of Color Network leadership team. Currently our chair is Dr. Yeti Marquez Santana. Our chair-elect is Kawana Leggett. Marcella Wong is our developmental co-chair. Magdala Campire is our developmental co-chair. Brandon Thompson is our outreach and member engagement co-chair. Jillian Sturdivant is our outreach and member engagement co-chair. Brianna Matthew, she is the marketing and communications co-chair. Joyce Arias is the marketing and communications co-chair. I serve as the co-chair for the programming planning and development, with Honey Bashir, who is also a co-chair for the programming planning and development. So if you look for more information, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll share my contact information at the end of this webinar, as it has been an excellent opportunity for networking with other professionals that not only look like me, that are geared to uplifting and supporting the mission of this network. So here we are to the special people in this particular webinar for today. I'll let you go in the order that you are listed. So up first, we have Calvin Mosley.
Good afternoon, everyone. Really briefly, my name is Calvin Mosley. I am the Director of Housing for Residence Life here at the University of Florida. I've been here now for about 4 years, going on 5 years. Prior to coming to the University of Florida, I worked at Mississippi State University as the Associate Director, University of Central Arkansas, as well as East Carolina University. I did undergrad as well as grad school at Mississippi State University. And I'm just very happy to be here. Proud that I was asked to be a part of this webinar, and hopefully we'll be able to share some things that are enlightening.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Claudia Arias Serena. I'm the Director of Residence Education at the University of Connecticut. I am Latina, born in Chile, South America. Prior to this position, I had the Assistant Dean of Students position at UConn, as well as the Assistant Dean of Students at University of Miami at Quinnipiac University as well. Prior to that, I held many positions in residence life up to 9 years. It's a pleasure to be with you all here today and hope that we all learn from each other.
Hi, everyone. Greetings from the West Coast. My name is David Hong. I currently serve as one of the assistant directors for residential education. I actually oversee the graduate and the family housing area. I'm a California kid. I've been in California all my life. Undergrad, UC Riverside, grad school here at USC. Then at a small private college in the Bay Area, Menlo College, UC Santa Barbara as a resident director, and then back at USC again. And hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and most importantly, I serve as a father for two young little daughters, 4 years old
David?
and 20 months old. Yes. Hello.
Yeah. I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think you're good.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Are you done, David? I don't want to cut you off. Okay. Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm Stephanie Carter. The doctor's there, but you can just call me Stephanie. That's perfectly fine. I am the Director of Residence Life at Wake Forest University. Go Deeks. I've been here. February actually just made 1 year for me here. So it's very exciting. I love my staff. I love the opportunity to work with the students here. I did my undergrad at Florida State, did my master's at Georgia. So I have some ties. I always make fun of Calvin because I also used to work at the University of Florida before he got there, but I'm a proud Seminole and a proud Georgia Bulldog, so you get with that from what you want. I've been in the field for a few years, I guess. So I most recently came to Wake Forest from the University of West Georgia, and as I said, I did work at UF for a period of time there. So my professional career has been in residence life and housing. I love it, and I am a mom. I have a 7.5-year-old. It's very important that you say the half-year-old little boy named Christian. So there you go.
So Marcus.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, he said his connection lost. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
So we need a backup.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I don't know if anybody, can we move his screen?
I cannot.
Nope.
Nope. Let's see if he's gonna, hopefully he'll be able to join back in.
So maybe we should just ask the first question. That way we can kind of move along until he gets back. How about that?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll be the semi-moderator.
All right.
So the first question, how does your role as a parent and your position in housing complement one another? What conflicts or challenges arise between the two roles?
Who wants
to? I can start, make it easy. First of all, I am a mother. I forgot to mention that. Mother of a 10-year-old daughter, Sophia, and a 7-year-old son, Rocco. I would say it does both. Complement and conflicts. Complements because as a parent, you know what parents are looking for or the questions they may have. How students are, as they grow up, they're being brought up by their parents, and how the transition from being home and going to college would be, because you're going through that as a parent yourself. And dealing with crisis, you're dealing with crisis in your job every day in res life, and you're also dealing with it at home, and you tend to be used to it. The late nights at res life, working late night, and then also having late nights as a new parent, very complements each other. The one thing I would say, so many things that conflict are more of the hours. I'm on duty right now 365 days a year, so if something arises on campus, although we have many staff that deal with situations, they have to contact me. And that's hard at times when you're making plans to go somewhere or do something or actually just get a good night's sleep. It's a conflict because you are in charge of such a large department at a large university, and things happen and you have to attend things, and sometimes it conflicts with you wanting to be home and taking care of your family or your children or be at events. So I would say that's probably the highest conflict for me, because the rest of it I really think is more complementary.
Right. Now, similar to a lot of your answers, the way in which this complements it is, I'm a people watcher, and so I watch the parents who come here, so the parents of our residents, and I watch what those relationships are like, and especially as my daughter started getting closer to high school and to being a senior. So she's a senior this year and is about to graduate, and so I've started paying attention a lot more to a lot of those relationships and kind of seeing, how can I better prepare my daughter for college? How can I better prepare also my 11-year-old for college? And just really watching those interactions as far as, and kind of denoting how well they did or did not prepare their kids for college. I've learned a lot as far as how to prepare my kids and for what, like certain things as far as college is concerned. And so working in this profession and working on a college campus, you kind of see a whole lot of things that, you wonder, like, what if my kid goes through this when they're in college, or what if they're going through it right now, and how would I react if I was a parent? And so luckily, as soon as I started as a professional in this profession, my daughter was born shortly after that, and so all throughout her years, I've kind of watched those pieces and asked myself that question, especially on move-in day, like, how would I handle this situation if my kid were to act like this, or what if I were this parent and acting that way? And so I've learned a lot as far as that is concerned, just by watching a lot of parents and their kids as they are here on college campus. I'll definitely say conflicts a lot also as far as time goes. In a lot of cases, especially as younger professional, when I was a younger professional, you live where you work, and there's some things that came along with that kind of took up a lot of your time. And so, and then the struggle of teaching versus letting them figure it out on their own. And so even before they get to college, or in a lot of those pieces, you kind of struggle with those two things. And then just constantly asking yourself the question, am I modeling correctly? Should I model in this particular situation? And am I doing a good job as a parent? So that's in a nutshell. I think it both complements and conflicts with my role as a parent and a professional.
I will echo a lot of what they both just said. So I'm a single mom, as I said, my son's 7.5. So my worlds tend to collide all the time because, my son is with me for a lot of things. So, if he gets sick or if things happen, then I have to adjust my professional life, obviously, to make sure I'm being mom and taking care of that. And sometimes on rare occasions, he might have to come to the office with me to do things. And that's just the life that I've adjusted to. And I make it really clear. And I know, obviously, when I had my interview here, when I met with my now supervisor, Donna, I told her I'm a single mom. I want to make sure you know that, because to me, that means a whole lot of things, right? It means a lot of there may be some stuff that goes on that I have to kind of make a call between being mom, being professional, and what does that look like, and what are the expectations of that coming into it. And what do you have hiring someone who's in this position? I work as hard as I can, to do my best to not let those worlds collide all the time. But some things happen, right? Things happen all the time, and you just have to adjust. And I appreciate the flexibility that I've been given in this position and in my last one to be able to kind of take care of that stuff. But, the way they kind of go hand in hand, much of the things that were mentioned, I'm a nurturer by nature. I appreciate being able to do that. I love working with college students. I enjoy being able to have conversations with parents too and say the same thing. Listen, I'm a mom. Like, I get it. I know you're trying to do the best thing for your son or daughter. I absolutely relate to that. And I think when you talk to those parents, sometimes when they're upset, they understand that, because listen, everybody wants the best for their child. We just got to make sure we're doing things, in my opinion, according to our policies as well, to make sure we are all doing things the best for their kids that live on our campuses. So to me, those are kind of the big things that stand out.
Yeah, there's a lot of head nodding left. Really agree with one another with what's going on. But for me, I think specifically, because of the fact that I work with graduate students and students that have families, it actually pairs really well for my position. So there are a lot of different initiatives that have been going on. I just thought back to, what am I going through right now as a parent of young children? And we found out that a lot of our graduate students that do have families, all the children are under 5 years old. So that kind of lines with what I do specifically. So I was thinking about, I'm actually trying to plan out my kid's birthday party. How can we do that to help out other graduate students? I'm thinking about celebrations and holidays. What can we do for the families that are here too, that don't have anywhere to go to? So those are some of the things that just kind of line up with what I'm doing. And I think, they all talked about connections with parents as we talk to them on a regular basis. I know earlier in my career, I didn't have that credibility with other parents, and they say, you're not a parent, you don't understand what's going on. And now I can say like, hey, yeah, I am a father, and I can understand what you're talking about, and this is how I can help out. And I think it gives me a little more credibility in that area there. In terms of that conflict, though, I think time is the biggest piece. I used to be able to sit in the office and crank out work as hard as I can, but understanding that my time is precious at this point, and do I really want to use that time in the office or at home with my daughters? So just making sure that's a big piece to understand. And even with duty rotation, I do live on in my position. So understanding that, hey, if there's a situation that's going on, I have to have my partner here as well to make sure that she understands that you have to be here because I can't take them out to an emergency situation.
Is he back?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. We got this. Don't worry, team.
That's right.
We'll mix it up though. This time I won't go first. How would you define intersectionality of being a parent and being a professional of color in this field?
I don't remember what I wrote.
I'm looking back on mine here.
I know.
I'll jump in here. For me, it's just it's being the ultimate role model, in the sense that, yes, we are trying to be great parents to our children, but also we're always looking out for the new professionals in the field and make sure that they're doing well. So always trying to be my best and show them that, yes, you are professional, you're a professional of color. You can also have a life too outside of that. So role modeling what that looks like, letting them know like that time expectation, that time crunch there, to leave at 5 o'clock, leave the work behind. It'll always be there. But then also to infuse my life within the work that we do. So when I show up to events, I do bring my family with me, so they can see what that looks like and what it could be.
And I look at it as much as I think everybody would, it's a work in progress. It's taken me a while to get to where I am right now. And so the Calvin now as Director of Housing for Residence Life look at it a little bit differently than the Calvin, the area coordinator, did at that particular point in time. And, constantly being in a constant state of having to work a little bit harder at some points and times than my non-minority colleagues. It's a challenge because, based on the role that I played everywhere that I've been, in certain cases, in certain housing departments, being the only minority male or the only minority period in certain of those cases has definitely kind of challenged and or affected how I've kind of looked at that particular piece. It's really a loaded question, to be honest with you. When we were sent these questions and I got to number 2, I had to ponder on that one a little bit because once again, my role now is a little bit different than it was earlier on in my career. And with my position now, I can honestly say I deal with a lot of the same pieces as my non-minority friends and or colleagues who have kids deal with also. But earlier on in my career, it looked a little bit different based on the pieces of my job, the responsibilities of my job, as well as the other pieces that were present in my home life as well. So,
yeah, I would agree. I think the biggest thing for me, and I kind of mentioned it in the first question, is trying to strike a balance in between being a professional and being a mom, and the guilt, in my opinion, that I associate with if I'm doing too much of the professional thing, that means I'm kind of slacking on my mom duty, so I get mom guilt. Or if I'm doing too much of the mom thing sometimes and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's stuff I need to get to at work, I need to get done, then I have the professional guilt. So I kind of vacillate between these two worlds of, which it's a whole guilty world. It's kind of horrible, honestly, of just trying to figure out how I can show up 100% in both of those worlds and somehow make it all work. And, it's very tiring. And honestly, I acknowledge a lot about that when I was writing the answer to that question, because I really do. I try to show up 100% in everything that I do. And I feel bad when I can't. And that's a struggle that I deal with as a single mom and as a professional, trying to figure out where is the balance in the midst of all of that. But to me, and a lot of it, I absolutely understand is self-imposed. I put a lot of guilt on myself. And once you kind of get stuck in that like mom guilt or dad guilt, it'll pull you in. And you're like, what's happening? But I recognize that's a lot of the intersectionality that I have there, of just wanting to do and be the very best in every single thing that I do and in all of those roles. And in the midst of that is still trying to be sane, right? And not go crazy trying to do all that, because you just can't. And I realize that, but I still try every day. Go figure.
Yeah, I agree with all of you. Also, the hard thing for me is also to do all that and try to balance being, someone who supervises a big team, but also someone who is a parent and also someone who's a person of color in the profession. Because a lot of times you have a lot of staff members looking up to you, especially staff of color, saying, how did you get there? And what did you have to give up to do what you do? And can I have a family? And can I do a job like that one day? Or do I have to assimilate to something? Or what are the policies and procedures and practice that you don't agree with that you kind of still have to do in this type of role? And I think being a person of color, the expectations from everyone else are all over the place. So you're trying to run an area or be in charge of something, and you have to always think who you're representing and how that may impact others, whether it's at work or whether it's at home with the children. You're always thinking the impact, and in terms of impact, which is what we do all the time. But it is definitely, something we think about all the time, where, somebody that's maybe a white professional is not thinking, I'm white and I'm a professional. That's just not something they think about, but we think about that first because we know what we represent. So that's
I agree.
How are we doing? Okay, we'll go to the next one. Is there a high rate of turnover in your department of professionals that are also parents versus those professionals that are not parents? Is there a correlation?
Okay. I guess I'll go first on that one. From what I've noticed, it's a higher rate of turnover for those who are not parents, and for different reasons. And it's based on, they can pick up a little bit easier and move on in certain situations than those who are with parents. Those who are parents are concerned. I know me, when I'm job searching, it's not just me job searching. It is me, my wife, and my 2 kids who are job searching. So throughout the whole course of that process, we're looking at a good different many of things, such as school zones, jobs for my wife, and a lot of those pieces. And so a lot more goes into it, thinking that you're going to be there for probably a little bit longer time than you would. And so I'm thinking back in my single days, if you will, that was not necessarily the case. And yes, I could pick up and leave after a year or so, but now has to be a little bit more calculated. And for those reasons, I think that's what I've noticed, is that it's a little bit more difficult for those who have families, because there's so many other things you have to consider, especially depending on where your kids are in school, what years they are in those pieces. And from that's just some issues that those who are single do not necessarily have to worry about. And so from that particular standpoint, I think it's a little bit easier. And from what I've noticed, there's a lot more turnover with those professionals who are not parents as opposed to those who are.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I mean, I think there's so much other things you have to factor into it. I mean, I know accepting my position here, I had to make a decision because I moved in February, as I said, and I had to pull my son out of school, in one state and put him in school in another state, just like, hey, I hope you can adjust, pretty much. So once again, here's that mom guilt. But, it is a little more difficult when we have to think about kind of moving and what that looks like. And yeah, I think from what I noticed, and we have not had a whole lot of turnover, at least, as I said, I've been here for a year, but in previous situations, it most certainly has been folks who haven't had kids, or there just is a little more flexibility on their end to say, you know what, I just don't want to do this anymore, or another opportunity opened up, and they can just pick up and move themselves, or move a partner who can potentially find another job pretty easily someplace else too. But it is a little difficult when you're kind of pulling kids and coming out of school districts and finding another one and everything else that goes into that.
Right.
I think personally for myself, in my 15-year career, I've only seen about 7 parents in all. There hasn't been that many of us out there. I think for the most part, and some of my colleagues that were preparing to have children left the field before they actually had their children, because they knew it would be a big change in their life.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, we have a lot of families on our campus, and they don't leave because they have families. They leave because maybe they want to get closer to home, because they want the in-laws to help with the children, or they both are looking for a position in a different state. with their family. So we don't really have a high turnover. The turnover is really for especially the entry-level positions, the hall director position, because we have so many hall directors looking for other positions. That is where the turnover is. It's entry level, more of looking for that promotion in that position, in that next step.
Great.
So.
And something Stephanie touched on earlier as far as a single parent. I've noticed the turnover pieces or just more decision-making process behind that with those who are single parents as well. I have a coordinator here now who we went to lunch a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things we were talking about, she's not a parent, but she has a sibling who is about 18 years younger than her, and she comes to spend the summer with her. And she says it was really interesting. It's something that I've really never thought about, that I don't have a spouse, I don't have a partner, and when my sister comes to stay with me, I have a decision to make. My life drastically changes throughout the course of that process, because now I got to think of some different ways to handle on call. I have to think of some different ways to handle after 5 p.m. programming. I have to think of some different ways to handle a lot of things that I really don't have to think about. And she said that really got her to thinking about, one, how much of a challenge it's going to be when she does start a family and a lot of those processes, but two, looking at her colleagues as well as those others who work in the department that do have families, and looking at, a lot of the other complexities in their lives that she never really noticed until that kind of happened to her, and having a new gain respect and or understanding for those individuals too.
Sure. Yeah. DeMarcus is back.
Hey, DeMarcus.
Hi, everybody.
Number 4.
I do something.
Yes.
I have to. Number 4. Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about, what does your support look like for you as a parenting professional, whether that's on or off the clock?
I kind of mentioned this in the beginning, but I appreciate that I have a very supportive supervisor who is very understanding when things come up or when there are kind of moments. The school that my son is in, I feel like all the time they're on some sort of holiday break. I tell you what, I don't understand it. So he said, I feel like they're like, when are we in school? What does that look like? So, there are days that he is out of school and they may not have holiday care. So I kind of have to figure out whether that means spending some time at home and taking some time off to do that, or maybe having him come in the office for a little bit with me so I can get some work done. But I just appreciate that I have a supervisor who lets me do that. Obviously I let her know things ahead of time so we can kind of make those adjustments. So I appreciate having that support. And I appreciate having a supportive staff around me too, that understands that knows my son. Like I said, when there are programs or events that he comes on campus, he's there. So they know him, they all play with Christian. He is a part of this world as much as I am. So I appreciate that folks know that. And if I need someone to say, hey, can you watch him for a little bit? Like I have to go run and do something, in my private time, that there are folks who may also be other parents or other folks who just enjoy spending time with my crazy little child that do so. And I appreciate just kind of having that support. As someone who moved here with really no other family in the close proximity, it was him and I just kind of adjusting. And that's how my last few moves have been. It's been him and I kind of moving somewhere and establishing a network around us. So I appreciate that we've been able to do so, and that there has been that supportive environment of folks saying, I got him, I'll do this if you need to run to this meeting, or if you need to go do whatever. There are folks who are there to be there for my son and I.
I agree with you, Stephanie. I think that when you mentioned earlier that you had that conversation with your supervisor ahead of time, I think that's crucial to have that conversation, right? So I feel the same way. I had that conversation with my supervisor, not so much just being a parent, but finishing my dissertation and saying, I'm not going to be able to be like working every night a week and every weekend because I have to finish this. And, the support that was given to me was huge and continues to be huge, even as a parent, for snow days, for example. Snow days, they don't have school. Snow days, it's terrible to drive 45 minutes away in a snow day, so that's difficult. So that support is crucial. As well as for my personal life, I have a husband who does real estate. So for him, he's very flexible with our children, and because of that, I'm able to do so much. And that's not for everyone, because most people don't have that. But it really is a balance for the two of us, and it's a conversation we had when I decided to take on more responsibility in my career and my doctorate, because it really is not an easy balance. There is no such thing as a perfect balance. It's always give and take all the time. So I think that's also helped me.
For me, the flexibility is key, and I know it's been touched on several times, but in looking at it, with kids, there's no such thing as a 9 to 5 piece with them. It's 24 hours, regardless if you're with them or not. And I've been in more situations than I can think of being ready to go out of town for a conference or for another trip, and something happens with my kid at school where I have to derail or delay my trip a lot of times. And so that flexibility that I think this position as well as this profession offers is key. And I find myself, especially on job interviews or when I'm interviewing for positions or even in new opportunities within the current job, that I'll ask a lot of those questions centered around my family. Basically, what is the time going to look like? What are the hours going to look like? What is the responsibility going to look like? Because that's a part of me that, I love, but I also know that I have to be very intentional and very strategic about, because once again, they need me, I need them. And that is a part of me that's very important. And I want to make sure that I dedicate that time to really looking out for them and making sure that every decision in my life kind of takes them into account, and so that I'm not making that on my own and leaving out certain pieces that I should not.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think it's an understanding of what sick time actually is. So when people think sick time, you're sick yourself. It's like, no, I got to take care of my daughter. She has the flu right now, or I'm taking my leave. So I was one of the first parents here within my peer group. Actually, the first assistant director here within at the time. I took a month off for my family leave time. And, kind of having to explain what it is, what that process looks like, letting them know, like, I'm away, like, you can't expect me to be here during that time. So that's just having to explain some of those pieces so they have that information.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point, David, and having to, and sometimes depending on what your support may look like, that navigating that space can be difficult, but it is important conversation to have. I was out, unfortunately, I didn't plan to be out 2 weeks, but my son got sick, and then I'm ducking and dodging, trying to not get sick, and I think he coughed on my left earlobe or something, and next thing I know, I'm sick, and like I'm out. But my supervisor was incredibly supportive and calling and checking in. It's like, okay, well, not trying to answer that call like, well, I'm missing so many emails or I'm missing so many things, and trusting that we have enough colleagues well qualified and well capable to get the work done while I'm not there. So
Absolutely.
thank you all for sharing that. Claudia, you mentioned something kind of leading into our next question of life to work harmony. What does that look like, or does it even exist?
Personally, I don't think it exists. There's no such thing for me about work and life harmony. I think sometimes work takes a fall, and sometimes your personal life takes a fall, and you just do the best you can to keep your head above water. I think that, and altogether, I think you have to think about the quality of the time that you're spending with your family versus quantity at times, because you don't have so much time with them. So some of the things that I do is I definitely try to take a lunch break if I can, because I need my own alone time. I'm an introvert, so I need to be alone like 1 hour of the day. So I try to do that. And people laugh at me because they all want to go to lunch, and I'm like, I will see you at 1. But I'm good with that. And then at night, like, I know that I only have from like 5:45 or 6 to 8:30 with them. So what do? I spend time with them, and whatever I have to do, whether it's work or whether it's writing or whatever I have to do afterwards, I try to do that after they go to bed, because for me, I already feel bad that I'm not with them after school, doing their homework, picking them up, dropping them off. So for me, that makes me feel more balanced. But do I feel like there's ever a real balance? Probably not. The only real balance I feel is when I take vacation, when I can actually be there in mind, body, and spirit with my family, and that happens a couple weeks a year. So I don't think there's such thing, but I think that there is such thing to make you feel more harmonious as a professional.
I found that I have to be a lot more organized and intentional with my time. As Claudia mentioned to it, and that, that's something that was not easily learned by myself early on in my career, and that's something I had to really, really, really work hard in, especially as the kids got older and got involved in a lot of things. And so, those things where I used to really say, well, it was really easy for people to run across town for this recital or this practice or these pieces. It's not easy. And I stand here today saying I was wrong, and to any parent that I judged saying that it was easier than it looked or whatever, I apologize, because it is not easy. Like even tonight, for example, my daughter has a band competition piece that she's doing. My son has a soccer game. And so my wife and I were going to divide and conquer, but you know, a lot of times it's not as easy to do that because I would like to be at the soccer game. She would like to be at the band piece, but at the same point in time, you have to make decisions that are going to be best for your time as well as those for your kids. And you can't be two places at once, and you have to be okay with those pieces. But scheduling is very important as far as a lot of things are going. Once again, as they get older, once they get involved in a lot of different pieces, that becomes incredibly important. And then great communication with my spouse is key as well. She's a teacher, and so hours wise, you know, she's just as busy as I am, you know, and arguably just as stressed out throughout the course of the day because she's dealing with little ones as far as fifth graders are concerned. And so having to balance those pieces as well. But communication with her, scheduling it, and really being organized are the three pieces that I kind of incorporate in. And DeMarcus taught me a different phrase when he was here at the University of Florida. And I agree with you, Claudia, as far as the harmony piece. There is no harmony. It's you just trying to make it all work or whatever. But DeMarcus introduced me to the term of work-life blending because it blends into each other a whole lot as far as our kids and our family coming to work events and then inviting those colleagues or those that we supervise to our homes or to other pieces to kind of share in our personal lives also. So the harmony piece, it is what it is, but I think the blending piece and how one another bleeds over into each other is a really good way of kind of putting that, because that happens regardless of what we intend for it to or not. And so love the phrase of work-life blending as opposed to harmony. So yeah. Good job, DeMarcus.
Yeah. You know, I try to do the best I can. My staff knows typically right after work, I go do CrossFit. So I'll go pick up my son and we go and do that because that's my way of staying sane in the midst of all of this. But, you know, I try to do the best, as I said, to integrate things together. So my son and I will go work out. You know, if there's other sports or things that he's in, then, you know, I make time for that and I adjust accordingly. But my staff know. I let them know well ahead of time. I'm the kind of person that, you know, when I go home, you know, when he's doing whatever, and we're kind of winding down for the night, you know, I will always get back on my computer and check email or just be accessible via phone. So I let folks know that, yes, there may be a chunk of time where you can't get me because I'm lifting some weights or I'm doing something else, but I'll be back on. You know, I'll be back. I promise you I'll be back. But for me, that's the way I'm kind of trying to bring it all together. So I still feel like I can be a professional. I still feel like I can be a human being and still feel like I can be a mom all in the span of one day and, you know, kind of rinse and repeat and do it all over again the next day.
Yeah, there's the scheduling piece that's so key. And I think understanding all your roles that you play and really allowing yourself that opportunity to replenish each of those roles. So I know for myself, you know, I love going to movies, but my kids are at an age where they can't really sit through it, so I can't really enjoy it myself. So, you know, for me, I go, you know, I check in with my partner, let her know that I love to have one night to myself, you know, like probably on a monthly basis, and I go to the movies, like the late movies after they go to sleep. So that's one way that I take care of myself in that way. We have to, we still have to work at our relationship and putting in some like us time. And then we do individual time with each of the girls. So it's not just like, you know, just family time all together. We need specific daddy-daughter days, you know, or mommy-daughter days, just so that everyone's relationship, that foundational relationship is there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what has been shared. I think one of the biggest transition, you know, educational things that I've, as a first-time parent, has been I used to hate routine. And now I cannot. It just doesn't work. So if I don't have my son dressed by a certain time every morning, like I'm just like, it's 7:03. We should be out of the house at 7. Like, it's amazing how things kind of shift gears like that. So to be cognizant of time, we have about 12 minutes remaining. One of our final questions, I'm probably going to try to squeeze in one or two more. But what recommendations do you all have for any current parents or expecting parents who strive to become a mid-level professional or senior housing officer?
I would say, like things we've already mentioned, scheduling and routine are important. I think that being communicative, like talking to your supervisor about your needs, and how things affect you, and maybe, you know, depending on your background or depending on your situation, it may be different than someone else that's a parent. Also understanding that you are always going to feel guilty and bad. It's natural for a parent to feel guilty and bad that you're not everything for your children, because you are also responsible for a position and other people, right? And also to take advantage of whatever benefits that your position has at your university. There may be some really good benefits in regards to whether it's helping you pay for summer camps, or whether it's helping you, attend things with your family. I think that's something that we haven't touched on, but also look at those benefits. So that you know that you can do something with them, or there's something that you didn't know, like maybe if you have daycare and the university gives you a percentage back, and you would not know that without looking at it or talking to others. So I think that's all important.
Yep. And the best piece of advice I was given before I got married was to spend time with other married couples before you get married, to kind of see what it's like. And I echo the same thing with those who are expecting parents as well, is to spend time talking with those who kind of been there, who've done that, who are doing it now, and to gain some insight into those pieces, because there's a wealth of knowledge there that you can learn from and that you can gain from that would be invaluable to younger professionals such as themselves. And the other piece is, I would encourage those of us who are there right now is to share what we've learned with those other individuals who are in the boat as well. I think we all know individuals who are on the verge of becoming parents, and as opposed to just looking at them and saying, "Whoo, you are in for it, you have no idea." Talk with them about ways in which they can be helped, because I know what I needed as a young parent, and I would hate to not give someone else that benefit of knowledge prior to them becoming parents in this profession too.
Yeah, I would say don't look at parenting as being anything that is going to limit you, right? As I said, I think it has done nothing but kind of enhance the professional that I am. It kind of brought out some different things in me. Like I said, I'm a nurturer by nature, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate the different level of conversations it has allowed me to have with other folks, as I said, with other parents that I've talked to regarding their student that maybe their child may be a student here with us. So don't think that, oh my gosh, I mean, yes, life most certainly is going to change when you have a child. That's just the nature of things. Kids change everything, literally. There was like a Johnson & Johnson commercial. That was the tagline. I was like, that is the truth, right? So, it's real. But I would never look at it as kind of a limiting factor. I mean, there's so much things you can do. I mean, I think once you kind of get your network around you, and a lot of times you kind of fall into that network, and you just kind of realize there's things I can do, if whether or not your child's coming with you to stuff. I mean, just don't let it be a limiting factor. I've also explained to my son what my job is, and he gets it for the most part. He just thinks I get to hire and fire people, or really fire people. Even that's what he kind of focuses on. And I'm like, okay, there's more than that. But he kind of has this sense of pride that he's like, "Mommy, is that one of your buildings?" When we ride through campus, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's one of our residence halls." So he understands as much as he can at 7 years old kind of what this work is, and I think it's helped me and kind of helped blend that together. So he's a part of this, just like everyone else's kid will, if you're kind of a housing and residence life professional. So just, it's a great thing. Let's put it that way.
Definitely been a wonderful opportunity to be able to, teach my children, what we do, but also to have the hard conversations early on too. My wife is Latina. I'm Chinese. So we get to talk about issues, even though she's 4 years old, having her understand identity from the get-go. She says, "Oh, I'm Chinese, I'm Mexican." So it's just fun to see that pride come out. And, it's really been an honor to be able to do that at a young age like that. So she sees that, and she has that visibility. I also think in terms of like new parents, I know you're with your children, right at the beginning, you're there 24 hours, there's no break. I actually, when I went back to work, I actually felt like I got a break at work, because I didn't have to listen for anybody else. Right. At lunch, I took a nap under my desk and knew that I wouldn't have any other uninterrupted time that way.
Real. It is real. Oh, that's funny. But it's so
it's so true.
It's very, very man, wow.
You're thinking about all your plans right now.
Yeah, I was like, it's like nostalgic. I'm like, my thing. Like, yeah, we might have to start a support group. Yes, because I was talking to a staff member the other day, and I said, you know what? I think the most impressive thing of this first year of parenting has been me still maintaining my level of decision making while I'm like sleep deprived. Because like when I'm on call and I get a call, I'm so conscious, like, please don't let a staff member call me at 3 a.m. and I say, like, just go put the milk back in the refrigerator. Like, but that's not what that call is. So, but it definitely has been a life changer. Thinking about where you are now and where you want to progress to in your career, do you feel like your identity as a parent will impact that, or how will that have an effect on what career you may choose, what career path you may choose, or what you're looking at doing for the future?
Yeah, I would say that it doesn't choose where I want to end up, because I still one day want to be a dean of students. That's not going to change, but it's going to change when I apply for that position or when I'm ready for that. And I really always think about this. I only have my children until they go to college. So for me, I want to spend as much time with them as I can and then continue with my career path. So it won't change where I go, but it changes when I go. And if there's a position out there that's going to make me work 3 nights a week and every weekend from August to May, that's not something I want right now. So it's just about timing for me.
Okay.
And my thing is, how could it not? I mean, my family plays such a big role in pretty much everything that I do. And so as far as moving, choice of career and piece of that, I always want to make sure I understand what the impact to them is going to be. And I think this profession complements my role as a parent and as a professional, as well as a parent of color. I love the flexibility. I love the other pieces that allow me to spend as much time as I possibly can with my family. But at the same point in time, my role as a parent and a lot of pieces that I do would definitely have an impact on where I go, what I do, because once again, I'm not just thinking about me. I'm also thinking about my wife, my 2 kids, 2 dogs, the whole 9, whatever the case may be. I'm also thinking about all those entities, and that those pieces definitely play a factor in those decision-making pieces as far as my career is concerned.
I honestly wouldn't say anything different than what has already been said. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll move through last 2 questions. This one is, would you feel that parenting can be a privilege within the workplace? And I unpacked that as I was talking to a colleague, and I realized within my own, I guess, my positionality and my privilege as an assistant director here, some of the questions and tasks that were kind of after 5 things, I wasn't being asked as much to do, because I think the expectation was, hey, he has a family, he has his son, he has a mandated responsibility to his son after 5 o'clock. So, but I guess I started to realize, well, who's getting that extra work? So being conscious of that. So I just want to hear some thoughts around that as well.
I would say that staff members that are not parents always look at parents as, they may look at them as they really have a hard life, but then if something's after 5 and they can't do it, they feel like they may be the ones that are expected because they don't have a family. So I would say staff members feel that way. I personally don't feel that way, because I have to be at everything that's expected from me, and if I'm not, I'm still online, I'm still emailing after 8 o'clock, I'm still doing everything. So I personally don't think that people perceive me that way, but they can. And I do think it's a privilege. I mean, being a parent is a privilege. I don't think it's just a privilege because of that, but I think it's a privilege because of the way that you need to be really resilient and really good with your time, and understanding emotional intelligence, and understanding the humanity of people. And I think when you become a parent, I have an example in our office now of a young lady who's very type A, would judge others that were parents. Oh, look, that person's leaving right on time. Oh my God. She became a parent, and she completely apologized to everyone. So, oh my God, I had no idea how difficult this was. I'm leaving early. I feel guilty for leaving early. I'm usually here late, and I'm usually doing this. And I was giving you all attitude for doing what you had to do. And it's because you became a parent she understood it. But before she was a parent, she really didn't get it and had a lot of judgments, right? So I think, again, it's a privilege in regards to having that experience. But I also think it's the way that the way that you interact with others and the way that you explain things to people. Like, you know, I may not be here every night, but you know what I'm doing. You know that I'm going to email you if you need me. You know I'm going to call you. You know I'm going to call in. And I think it depends on the level of the position as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I would ever, you know, as they kind of say, throw it around as, oh, I can't do that because, you know, I have my son, or oh, I can't whatever. I mean, I think it is just having folks understand that, yeah, there are most certainly things I cannot do, but there are things that I most certainly will do, and that no one's alone in the midst of any of this, right? We all kind of have our own things to deal with, whatever that looks like. So I think that's the part that I just want to make sure people understand. And yeah, right, as I said, it is a privilege to be a parent. Not everybody can, not everybody wants to. And I find it a great privilege that I was able to do so, and that I am. But I would never want to throw it in anyone's face and be like, sucks to be you because you don't. You know, that's just never the mentality.
Exactly. I agree.
Well, one final question. I did get a text question from an audience member regarding whether childbirth or through adoption or how the child became a part of your family. Through that process, particularly through childbirth, what type of challenges or what kind of, how was that journey for you as a professional? Because I know there has been talks about differences of the amount of time you're allowed to be away from work, or you know, some people experience more complications than others, and that the whole, especially particularly the pregnancy journey is a whole journey within itself. So what was that journey like, or did you find challenges, or how were you able to manage that in your position?
So for me, one thing I love about this profession is it teaches you the ability to be flexible, to kind of drop what you're doing at the drop of a dime. You know, I come to work every day, and what's on my calendar is what's on my calendar. But majority of days that I come to work, I'm doing stuff that's not on my calendar, impromptu stuff that has kind of happened. And, you know, it's the same thing with childbirth. And I've looked at it as, while I'm not the one, thank God, giving the birth of my kid. Thank you, wife. It's still that piece of, you know what the due date is, you know, around the vicinity of time when this is going to happen, but it could happen before, it could happen after. But at the same point in time, you have to be ready to put some things into motion once those things do happen. And with both of my kids, it happened kind of the same way, but it happened with my wife. With both of my kids, she got off of work, water broke. She went to the hospital by herself. I stopped what I was doing and speeded across town or from one city to the next to get there to be with her. But it's that piece of impromptu-ness, even when you thought you planned it as best as you could, to kind of drop what you're doing and go ahead and start this. And then, you know, that's only the beginning of it, realizing that that's only the beginning of it. What is to follow is going to be the real work after you go home from the hospital. And so the ability that the things that this profession gives you, the skills that it gives you, in my opinion, has helped tremendously in me becoming a parent both times, because once again, that flexibility, that piece of always being ready is a big part of parenting. And I thank God for this profession, because it did give me that skill and enabled me to be a better parent because of that.
You know, I'm thankful that I had a good pregnancy, because I was, you know, it was a Monday morning. I was getting ready to go to work, or going to be going to work later today, when I pretty much started going into labor. You know, I think the one thing, you know, I was that parent that, you know, after I had my son, really around 6 weeks, or that was probably the earliest you could, I had him in daycare at that point. And because I felt the urge to go back to work, and sometimes I wonder if that was the best thing or not, to be honest. Once again, here's that mom guilt and professional guilt. Of just saying, well, I could take off time, you know, but I'm a single mom, kind of figuring out what this looks like. And I felt the need, I need to come back to work. I need to be a mom. I need to do all this stuff. So I took kind of that minimal time, and then I was back at work. And as I said, I don't know if it was good or bad. I mean, it was a decision that I made at the time, and that's what I did. You know, he's a great kid, all that good stuff. But I will tell folks, don't feel bad about taking the time you need. You know, that's why they give it to you. You take it if you feel the need to do so. I just saw a friend of mine who had been working, whose daughter is about 10 months old or so, who just decided to leave her job because she wanted to sit, you know, she wanted to be with her full time. And I think if that's a decision people make, then I think that's fantastic too. But I think you have to figure out what's right for you. Take that time, you know, hopefully just kind of have the support of folks around you. And once again, of your staff, you know, when you're in a leadership role, and having them say, yes, I'm going to be out on leave, and whether that means you can contact me or not, whatever that feels like for you, I think just so they understand kind of where they stand in the midst of that is important.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I'm sorry.
No, you good.
Quite a bit of a journey. I actually did 7 years of fertility for my first child. So my first year of doing fertility was quite difficult because my supervisor wanted to send me on various conferences, and it affected the timing of my fertility. So that actually was a little bit of a challenge. And then I also took 6 weeks for both children, which the same as Stephanie, I felt guilty being out too much. So I actually went back as soon as I could. I don't know. I personally don't think that was the right decision for myself afterwards, because I think I was still like mommy, like pregnancy brain. Like I didn't even know what was going on. It was all like a phase to me. I was in a phase. I didn't know what was happening, but I went back, and it was all because of who I am. But I would say, you know, always try to have those conversations, like we said before, with your supervisor, with who you're working with, of your future needs, of what you're trying to do, so that there is support there for you to do what you need to do without trying to share too much. I remember at one time I told my supervisor about the specific fertility situations, and he's like, too much information, Claudia. Too much information. So I was like, okay, I just need you to know this is important.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, but it is different for the needs of whoever, and you have to really think about what your needs are and what's going to make you feel sane and happy.
Right.
Yeah, I think for myself, for my partner, when she was pregnant, it was a matter of when she first knew she was pregnant, and then starting to get the information out to everybody else about it, just so they know how to be around her, or they wonder, like, why is she going to the bathroom all the time? What's going on here? So those are some of the things to consider. Like, how do you start getting that information out there? At what point are you comfortable with letting other people know?
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's incredibly with that feat. At the time, my son's mother experienced a number of complications throughout the pregnancy for our son. I want to say maybe 9 to 10 hospital visits during the pregnancy. So, but I know Calvin and a number of other ones were there, and kind of was walking this line of masculinity and vulnerability, where I really had to really do a lot more of self-assessment of how am I feeling right now. This is because it's happening, and I allude to. I echo what Calvin shared. I used to despise being on call, but that is probably the best thing that has prepared me from parenting, because you're on call. That's just what it is. Like, you're on call for whether it was a smoothie run or whether it was it's time to go, like, to the hospital, and that kind of thing. So, but I think being able to advocate for yourself and being able to take that self-assessment, is like, what is really going on with my emotion, my physical self, being realistic, what I can and cannot do. Because sometimes I found myself hitting a wall. Like, I really want to go 100 miles per hour on my job because I'm trying to anticipate time that I'm going to be out. But when you're out, you're out. You know, that's just how it's going to be. So, we are at 3:57, so I want to be respectful of our time and our space. Thank you all so much for what you've shared today. I think this is a very important and critical platform that we've been able to share with the topic, as we discussed when we were putting this together. There's not a lot of research out there regarding this. I think there is a kind of assumption that parents just do. We just make it happen. But I think having more conversation like this and having more realistic narratives being shared really will help not only the preparation, but also helping along the journey for those who are our parents now. I want to thank you all. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, David. Thank you, Calvin. Thank you, Stephanie, for your investment, for your time, for being parents and being awesome at what you all do, for being professionals, and being parents of color, and walking that line. So what we're going to do, I do want to let folks know that the Professional Color Network does have a profound presence at the ACUHO-I annual conference and exposition this summer. So please make sure that you register, and we will be there in solid number. We also have a Multicultural Institute. The registration is $20. That happens on July 10th. So please make sure you visit the ACUHO website to check out more information about that. And also, if you have applied, one of the things to keep in mind for either for yourself or for others that are listening, the National Housing Training Institute, the James Seeger NHTI, the Professionals of Color Network offers 2 scholarships per year to professionals that may be in need. So right now they're currently reviewing those applications that have been submitted and folks that have expressed that need. So definitely something to keep on your radar. So other than that, it's been a great space. I hope we continue this conversation. We may have to get together for a talking stick or something article about this as a follow-up with one another. So you all have a great day, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice to meet everyone.
Everybody.
Bye.
It's